Hello, it's Nick Marmion here from Education in Ireland, and I'm here this morning with Nico from Global Education and from Heidi from IE Abroad. So welcome, guys, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. Really, what we want to do is to give the students out there, and I'd like to welcome all the students who've joined us this morning, to give you a flavour for the companies such as Global and IE Abroad, who work with Irish universities and who provide a range of student services. So we can talk a little bit more as we go along about the sort of services that these the companies offer and the role that they play. For students who have joined us, if you have any questions, there's a discussion tab on the right-hand side of your screen, and that's where you should drop in a question, and we will try and get to as many of them as we can towards the end of this session. So again, thanks for joining us, and maybe we'll just kick off with sort of an introduction from Nico and from Heidi. Maybe Nico, you want to kick off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nico. I'm the Managing Director of Global Education. We're an education agency in South Africa that's been operating for about 15 years. We represent and directly contracted to about 300 universities worldwide. A number of Irish universities are on that list. And we basically assist students with not just the application process, but with helping pick the right program for that particular student. And once they've made that sort of decision, we help find the right university that fits what they're looking for, and then also assist with the visa process and any other issue that a student may have whilst on campus. So we're sort of just here to support you in not only helping you study overseas, but making sure that it's the best experience possible.
Thanks, Nico. Heidi, if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, my name is Heidi Salkis. I work for IE Abroad. We are also an agency very similar to Nico. We've been around for about 5 years, so we're about 10 years younger. That's why I look so much younger than Nico. But and we also work with about 300 universities around the world in about 13 or 14 countries. And we have offices in I think 7 other countries in Africa. So we work in Nigeria, in Uganda, Zimbabwe, a few other places, Mauritius, Malawi. And we have, as Nico said, the full spectrum, helping students to find their direction of where they want to go, finding the best fit university, and then helping them with all the visa processing and so forth. The difference between Nico and I, we're a free service, and so we depend on our university partners to support us. We work with a lot of universities in Ireland, and yeah, so we focus a lot on the process of trying to help a child find their way forward. Being the mother of a child who is studying overseas, I get very involved in the process because I have kids of that age, and spend a lot of time kind of nurturing them through that process of decision making.
That's great.
So, Nick, can I just jump in 2 seconds, just quickly about the service fee that was brought up there. Yes, we do have an admin fee that is 2,000 Rand for students who don't come referred to us either by a university or from a school counselor. So the service is free if they're referred by a school counselor or come from the university.
Thanks for that clarification, Nico. So really, in terms of around the world, in different countries, the role of the agent, the education agent, can be more pronounced or less pronounced, depending. But ultimately, there's a sort of need from parents and from students to sort of help them in that journey. Some can work it out for themselves. Other need more hand-holding through the process to help them find that decision. Maybe if I could ask you, Heidi, first, why is the agent important in the student journey?
That's a great question, and I think that the agent kind of, and from my perspective, with the students that I work with, becomes like another parent in the process of this journey. Because when you start looking, and I'll tell you just from my own experience with my child 4 years ago looking for a university, there's so much out there. You can Google, like, we all have access at our fingertips to so much information. It's hard to kind of break down what's important and what's not important. And also, depending on what country you focus on, where you want to go to school, the requirements of that specific country are very important, and they're constantly changing. I know Nico, he's been in the business for 15 years, so his depth of knowledge is huge when it comes to application processes to the different countries. We are constantly building our knowledge base of how to get into universities, what universities have the course that will be the right fit. If a child comes to you and says, I want to study puppetry, how do you even begin looking for a course like that if you're not familiar with what's available out there? So I think it's important for me, the agent's place is to kind of help you to break down all that information that's out there on the internet. Personally, as a mother, I also, so three things that I look for that I really think that agents, and I'm sure Nico will probably have the same feedback, that we need to help them with. The whole point of a college degree is to get them off your payroll at the other end, right? To get students educated so that they're paying their own way when they finish. I mean, as a parent, that's what I want. I want this child to have the skills to go out there into the world. So to help them to look for a program that's not only going to fit their lifestyle, what they're looking for life-wise and program-wise, but also how that program is going to help them towards the next step. So I go through a set of criteria, which we can get into later, about how you go about doing that. The things that you're looking for when you're comparing websites. If you're looking at Nottingham and Edinburgh and Manchester or whatever, what are you looking at those websites? It's going to help you make that decision. And I think that that's where the agent's place is really important.
That's great. Thanks, Heidi. Nico, same question.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, I agree with pretty much everything that Heidi said. I think one of the things that as a student, so I went through an agent, actually went through global education and studied overseas and came back. So as a student, I know the process. Obviously, counseling is a different thing, but I think the biggest thing I took away from it is you're exposed to a lot when you look on your own. As soon as you type in on Google, there's overwhelming amounts of information available, and it's hard to sift through that. And it's definitely something we see a lot of with parents that come in. One thing I would say is that, and I agree with Heidi, that it depends on the agents that you use, and there's varying agents and the information that they give you. And I think the ones that are doing well, like ourselves and IE Abroad, are agents that actually care about their students more than where they're sending their students. So what that means is it's not just about the universities that we work with, it's about the student and where they're comfortable and what they actually want. And I think that's the biggest thing is when we meet with students is finding out exactly what they want. Mom and dad come in and they have their own opinion, and we tend to see 90% of the time the students sort of sitting in the background, not really saying it much. And we'll have the initial conversation with mom and dad, see what they want, and then kick them out and have a conversation with the student, see what they want, and then sort of try and bring those two together. Because at the end of the day, the student is the one who's going to be spending 3 or 4 years in a country completely away from their family. And if they're not happy with that decision or happy with that particular university, it's going to be a costly experience, not just for the student, but for the parent. And I think that's where agents come in and can sort of help gel the two and make sure that the right decision's made. And again, it comes down to the type of agent that you use.
Very good. Thanks, Nico. Maybe sticking with you, Nico, for a minute. My kind of next question would be around, you've been dealing with Irish universities for quite a number of years. How have you found the Irish universities to deal with, and the students' experience in dealing with Irish universities?
Look, to be honest, we've never had an issue. I think when we initially started, there was a bit of a misunderstanding just with the South African curriculum, just because the National Senior Certificate is not as widely known. But that was just a case of, sort of speaking to a few academic heads and sort of explaining the type of students that we deal with. And one of the things that we did do was we have a yearly expo, obviously pre-COVID, where we would bring out universities to come and see the students and take them to schools and give them an actual feel of what a South African school is like, and obviously Zimbabwean school. And that sort of opened up their minds to the education systems that are available here and the type of students that they would get. So, I mean, dealing with the Irish universities, we haven't really had any issues. They've been really fast in terms of getting offers back and communicating with students and sort of explaining, the different, obviously each university is unique and offers different programs, and different faculties have different entry requirements. So they have been really good at, clearly communicating what they need, and what the process is involved. So we've had a great experience dealing with Irish universities so far, and hopefully that continues.
Very good. Heidi, your thoughts?
Yeah, so we have some very good relationships with Irish universities, and I say, being the parent of a child who's at high school and at university, one of my marketing techniques, and Nico, don't steal this, but as I get hoodies from my favorite universities and I wear them when I go to watch my kids play sport. And I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but I work a lot with UC Dublin, and with Griffith College Dublin and with Trinity, and my son has taken to wearing my UC Dublin hoodie at high school, and it's bright green and very, and so I get a lot of questions. And for me, the Irish schools tick a lot of boxes. So I was saying before about some of the things that I look for. And the things that I look for as a parent of a child who I want off my payroll when she's finished is how employable those graduates are. So if you go and look at the Irish universities, the employability of those graduates is very high. Which a lot of parents, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, is my child going to actually have a job? When you've got employability ratios in many of the programs out of the Irish universities, upwards of 90%, the chances are very good that they're going to be employed. So that's one thing. The other thing is the opportunity for work placement and internships. A lot of opportunity for that across all of our partners that we work with in Ireland. And the other thing is innovation of the universities, and with really Dublin being the only English, Ireland being the only English speaking country in the EU, a lot of techie companies are based in Dublin. It's the Silicon Valley of Europe. And the opportunity for contact in industry, especially across the technical fields, is very high. So the kids are coming out of there at the cutting edge of what's happening in their business and their technology. So the Irish universities tick all those boxes for me. I don't know sorry, Nick, if I've gone totally off subject, but and in working with the universities, one thing that I find, sorry to interrupt, is that they are very eager to also get the word out there about what their programs are about. So I've done some specialist programs with several of the universities to get that information out there, and they want to work with us. And I know Nico, I'm sure, has had the same experience, is that they're very open to working with agents. They don't have this kind of love-hate relationship that you come across in other industries. And they really want to help us to help them develop their brands in South Africa.
You raised an interesting point in relation to the work experience, and not only just, but the experience that students can gain with international companies. Ireland is a little bit unusual in that we have a very high concentration of multinational companies both manufacturing, tech, services in Ireland. So, pretty much any university or college in Ireland will have very close contacts with industry for their particular faculty, be that, with Microsoft or with Google or LinkedIn or Pfizer on the manufacturing, the pharmaceutical side. So yeah, it is a big selling point for us in that, either at undergrad or postgrad level, you do have those strong links to industry for course placement, and then also for the opportunity to work afterwards, given that you can get a 1-year working visa with an undergrad degree from Ireland, and then a 2-year work visa with a postgrad qualification done in Ireland. So, they are very valid selling points for us. I suppose that kind of leads me a little bit into a next question, which really would be, Irish universities aren't necessarily going to be the cheapest option out there. They would compare favorably from a price perspective with the UK, but there are opportunities with the Netherlands and other countries who are offering very cost efficient options. Now, that's not necessarily an English language environment, but from what you've seen of the Irish universities today, Ireland offers an interesting option for South African students. Maybe Nico, if you wanted to kick that one off.
Definitely. I'd say I think you may be underselling it a little bit. The Irish universities are definitely competitive compared to the Dutch universities. I'd say you're on par with them for South African passport holders, at least. The work placement is a big thing that I would agree with Heidi in terms of a strong selling point for the Irish universities. The Dutch universities don't particularly have those options for internationals. I know they do have quite a few, but for domestic or EU passport holders. So it's a strong selling point for the Irish universities that it's available to international students to go into those work placements. The price point for me is far more affordable than a lot of our UK options. A lot of our UK universities are quite more quite pricier than the Irish universities. So it's become a very popular destination island amongst students who are aware of Irish universities and Irish institutions. And I think for me that's the biggest stumbling block at the moment, is that I think Ireland is not as well known, and it's great that we're having these types of talks and getting the word out there, because that's what needs to happen here, especially here in South Africa and across the board in Africa, is making students aware of these types of opportunities, that they, one, they're affordable, 2, they're really great institutions, 3, they can get work placements during their studies and are able to stay for at least a year once they finish. I mean, we've had 3 students that have actually all just secured jobs, 2 at Samsung and 1 at Google. All 3 went to National College Ireland and did a computer science degree, and they've all stayed to, obviously take up those work opportunities that were made available to them through the work placement. So they went and did a work placement during their studies and did really well, and were actually offered jobs based on their ability to, complete their degree and qualify for that visa. So I think it's a great option, and the more that students become aware of it, here in South Africa, I think the better it will be. And it's not as unaffordable as people may think. It's really, the Irish universities are really quite affordable compared to universities in the UK, and especially compared to American universities, Australian universities. The price difference is massive.
Yeah. Heidi, your thoughts?
I agree with what Nico had to say. I don't find selling the Irish universities difficult at all, for those reasons, that I pointed out before. And, when I sit down with students, I'm talking about the things that you are looking for. And, the parents I agree that I don't think that Irish universities are over the top expensive. I mean, I have a child studying in the United States. Can we just like, that's it? I mean, I'm eating 2-minute noodles and tuna to keep her there, so like it's, compared to a lot of other countries, going to Australia, New Zealand, they're not more expensive. And the accessibility of the work placements, I mean, what Nico says about, kids getting jobs through their work placements while they were studying is exactly what you're looking for. And the nice thing is, 30, I always talk to kids about, when you arrive wherever it is, you're there, it's your life, you're getting started, mom and dad aren't there. You need to be happy about the decision that you're making, and you need to find the best fit university. You can send a kid to a university to save some money, but if they're not happy there, they're not learning. So you haven't actually, they're going to end up coming home and starting over somewhere else. So you might as well start in the right place in the beginning. And 30% of your college career is what happens in the classroom. 70% is life that's going on around you. And it's important that you find that fit. And the nice thing about the Irish universities is that you've got varieties. You've got Trinity College Dublin in the middle of a city. You've got UC Dublin that's out in the country a little bit based on the American model. You've got, Limerick, which is a bit smaller in a smaller town. There's access to the EU outside of Ireland as well. That's, very accessible. So, I don't really think that is financially, it's a hard sell, if you will. I mean, I hate that like we're not selling, we're selling kids on their future. We're selling them on their education and to believe in themselves. I really, I don't think, I think that every penny of education is worth it. No matter if, like with work placements, there are, I mean, I think a lot of kids end up going to work in the companies where they do work placements, but there's also kids who do the work placements and realize, oh my gosh, I'm doing the totally wrong thing. And that's also fine. That's also part of your process of becoming and realizing what it is that you want to do. So yeah, that's my.
No, thank you very much to both of you for those points. I think the piece about Ireland and education in Ireland giving you a competitive edge in the workplace is something that's been echoed by alumni students who spoke earlier sessions this morning, and it's good to see. It's true. I mean, awareness of Ireland as a destination has been fairly low, and it's only this year that we've sort of focused, and that I focused with my team on South Africa as a destination. Again, it's been a challenging year for everybody with the current COVID challenges, but despite that, we still have. We still have somewhere in the region of 150 South African students who are studying in Ireland every year, and that's up about 20% on last year, despite COVID. And it's great that at the fair today we have 15 Irish universities and colleges who are participating. So clearly, our message of talking to them about that Ireland is actually and your institution is a good match for what South African students are looking for, is working on both sides. So great to see so many students coming on the fair today, and equally to have facilitators like yourselves involved, and then the enthusiasm from the Irish universities. It has been a challenging year. And the Irish institutions back into 2020 did their best to ensure that the pastoral care of students who were on campus when COVID broke in March 2020, and that's always been a focus for us. It's the student welfare when they were on campus, and then it's the student experience when they've had to deliver courses online. But everyone is looking forward to hopefully as normal a possible experience in September, October, when we get back to campus life again. Really, to I suppose to close out before I address some of the questions that have come in is to really to Nico and to Heidi today is, what advice would you have for students really in terms of looking at Ireland as a destination? And maybe if I could sort of give that first to you, Heidi, for your kind of closing comments, and then hand over to Nico.
Sorry, you broke up just a second. Repeat the question.
So, I mean, what would be your advice in terms of for students looking at, considering Ireland as a destination?
What are the selling points? What are the things to leave with?
What kind of, where do they need to focus their search? And I don't mean in terms of institution, but in terms of actually, the going through a process of search for themselves.
Sure. Well, I think that's a huge question, and I think it's important to sit down with somebody like Nico or myself, actually, and not to say that we are the be all and end all, but this is what we do every day. We talk kids through, try to understand what it is that they're looking for from their college experience. And we will take you, and Nico's process might be different to mine, but we're both trying to get to the same place, and that is to find a best fit university for these kids, with their lifestyle questions, their course questions, or whatever, is to to come to one of us to chat through what their expectations are. And then I have a series of questions, and I do seminars on this with students at schools and various places. And I call it the student journey of how to start answering and thinking about these things for themselves, of what they're expecting, and the things that are important to them, about how they learn, where they learn, what kind of course they're looking for, interactive, all kinds of things. And know that this whole part of trying to find a best fit university is a process. It's not going to a menu and selecting something. It's a process. You're going to do a lot of research, and I always recommend that kids get started in around grade 10, and they take that time to do the research. And then by the time they get to the middle of their matric year, then they know where they're applying. As far as the Irish schools specifically, when kids tell me that they're looking for the biomedical sciences, if they're looking, not quite sure, if they want to stay in Ireland the whole time, but they like the thought of Ireland, there's, all kinds of partnership arrangements between Trinity College Dublin and Columbia and UCD and ASU. So there's a whole lot of things that come into it. But I mean, I'm sure Nico would agree, is that when kids are looking for those kinds of things, the tech fields, the business fields, Irish universities are always at the top of my list. UCD, Trinity College, Limerick, the Irish, they're always somewhere there in the top 10, when we're looking for universities. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Thanks, Heidi. Nico, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I totally agree with Heidi. I think, it's quite a process, for a student to figure out what's the right fit for them. I think, coming and having an initial consultation, or, just a general meeting with one of us, and, sitting down and actually saying, okay, this is what I'm looking for, not just from a university, but also from a lifestyle perspective. You get students who, every university might offer the same sort of program and same sort of course content, but they're situated out in the country or in the heart of a city. And, you might get the student who really wants that quiet environment, or you have a student who's really an academic, but also very sporty and wants the best of both worlds. So it's a complicated conversation to have, not in the sense that it's difficult to figure out, but in the sense of making sure that it's what that specific student wants. And at the end of the day, like we said, it's not about just sending a student to university because we hold a contract with that university. It's about sending the student somewhere where they're not just going to study the degree that they want to study, but they're going to have a great time doing it, and they're going to enjoy being there because they're going to be away from their family. They're going to be, away from their social group, their close-knit units that they're used to being in back home. So for them to go somewhere and know that it's exactly what they were looking for. I think that's a big thing. And that's what I would suggest to all students before they make the decision of, applying to multiple universities overseas, is actually come in and have a conversation, and either with Heidi or with myself. And we do things like, okay, you're interested in these 4 Irish universities. Why don't we set up, Zoom consultations with those universities and have a conversation with someone from the university and see what they have to offer, see what they say about their rugby program, if it is rugby that you're interested in as a curriculum, or, if you are into anime and you want to be part of an anime club, does that university have it? You can, we can have those conversations in the office and make sure that those universities that you're applying to are the ones that are going to suit you at the end of the day. And I think that's a big thing.
We have a number of questions from the students this morning, and a couple are asking, how do they get in contact with your office? Do you want to give it an email address for students to contact you guys?
Sure. Can I actually just type it into the discussion bar?
Yeah, you should do. Yeah, it's probably the easiest.
Where should we type it in? Oh, just at the join the discussion at the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just while you guys are doing that, I'll just address a few questions that have come in. So one of the questions that have come in relates to the current visa process. So as anyone who would have gone into the visa session earlier on, normally there is no visa requirement for South African passport holders coming to Ireland, but clearly we're in a kind of COVID situation. So at the moment it's a temporary measure, but there is a visa requirement at the moment, and that will probably take 6 to 8 weeks to process. And visa processing is open from now for those who are actually making, those who might be current offer holders. A number of questions have come in relation to scholarships. Ireland is not a location with a large number of scholarships available. There are some specific to South Africa through what's called the Embassy of Ireland Cadar Asmal Fellowship Scholarship. And if you go on to the Irish Embassy Pretoria website, you can find additional information relating to that. Another question has come in relation to sports scholarships. Sports science really, and I think UCD, University of Limerick, Athlone Institute of Technology all offer sports science or various sort of sports related disciplines. So have a look at those 3 universities to start with. In terms of when applications can start, I mean, most Irish universities and colleges they will open applications. You guys can correct me, but it can be as early as November for the following October entry. It's quite a long period that they will consider applications for. That seems to be most of the questions that have come in. Let me just double check if there's any more. And then that's really the sort of the length of session we have. We could go on, but unfortunately we're going to run out of time. I'd really like to thank Nico and Heidi for joining us today. It's been great to get their input. They've worked with Irish universities for a number of years, and they're both highly rated institutions. Great to have sort of partnerships with these guys. Just any final questions? That's kind of pretty much it. I'd just like to thank all the students and parents for joining us on our session this morning. And this session will be available on recorded, so please check it out. And thanks again, and I wish you a really good Saturday. So thanks, Nico. Thanks, Heidi, and take care.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
having us.
Thank you. Thanks, Heidi. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
I think if you just close the cameras, guys, it shuts it off.
Close the cameras.
Thanks to me.